your nose had been as sensitive as your eyes, you'd have known that 30 seconds ago.
Good evening. I'm Risotto. The bar of gold is at your service, gentlemen.
We're looking for Mr. Neville Sinclair.
The name is unfamiliar.
He was here only a moment ago. We saw him at the window. However, if we must search for ourselves...
Holmes! Holmes, take your hand! Holmes! Holmes, take your hand!
Cabby, the police station, and drive like blazes.
Good evening, Inspector. Is this another one of your courtesy visits?
No, Lozetta. This time it isn't a raid. I'll deal with your opium side later. At the moment, we're more interested in your upstairs room.
You realize, of course, Inspector, that you cannot make a search without a written statement from your station. In any case, I don't think you will find anything up there that could be of any possible interest.
I saw Sinclair, now he's gone. Inspector, I suggest your men search the house.
Certainly, Mr. Holmes.
I object to this intrusion.
All right, I heard you.
I warn you, I don't think you quite realize the seriousness of what you're doing.
You've been pretty clever up to now, Lozetta. One of these days you'll go too far.
My dear Inspector, I know perfectly well what my position in relation to the law is.
You'll observe, Inspector, traces of blood on the windowsill, human blood. There are also several drops on the floor, which would appear to be quite fresh. And these garments are, I'm afraid, clothes belonging to the missing person, which no doubt Mrs. Sinclair will identify. Inspector, would you be kind enough to arrange for one of your men to escort Mrs. Sinclair back home?
Certainly, Mr. Holmes. Wilson? Wilson will see you home, Mrs. Sinclair.
Easy now. Go on, get in there.
Found this man hiding in the attic, Inspector. A more serious matter than opium, Lozetta. Anything to say?
What can I say, gentlemen? I know absolutely nothing at all about this room. It is rented to this man Boone and is very rarely visited by me.
And the bloodstains on the windowsill.
I cut my hand this morning. When I opened the window, I put it on the catch and it started to bleed again.
What about the clothes?
I never seen him in my life before, Governor. Never in my life.
Do you take us for half-wits? This is your room. These clothes belong to a gentleman who was seen at this window only half an hour ago.
I never seen him in my life before. What you looking at me like that for? What are you trying to pin on me? I ain't done nothing. I ain't done nothing wrong. I ain't done nothing wrong. I swear I haven't done nothing at all.
Inspector, if a medical examination confirms this man's reopened cut, his story may be true. I should not, however, confine your investigations entirely to him.
Right,
Watson, what do you think of this view? Sinclair's coat. It's very heavy.
I say, Holmes, it's stuffed with coppers.
Then it is murder. Yes, Watson, imagine what happened. While Boone has thrust the body through the window, suddenly he hears the police downstairs. He seizes his victim's coat, then realizes that it will float and give him away. So he stuffs the pockets full of coins and throws it into the river. And would have done the same with the rest of the clothes but for our arrival.
Excellent deduction.
Now we have no choice but to look into the past of your friend Neville Sinclair.
But what's the next move?
Supper. Excuse us for interrupting at such a late hour, Mrs. Sinclair, but it is essential for me to continue my investigations into your husband's private papers and documents.
I quite understand, Mr. Holmes. I've unlocked it yet. You and Dr. Watson will, of course, be staying with us tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Sinclair.
Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes, in your heart of hearts, do you think Neville is alive?
Kate, my dear.
You mean
That your husband is dead? Yes.
murdered? I still feel he's alive. Yes, I know, but Neville and I had a mental affinity, and if he was ever in pain or danger, I would feel it even though away from him. Some weeks ago, he had an accident in the garden, and I knew before he cried out. Even before we were married, if he was ill, I would go to him, knowing full well something had happened. I can quote dozens of occasions when Neville has been sick or hurt or worried. And each time I have known without a word or a message. Why, only 3 days ago, when he cut his hand shaving, I rushed upstairs, certain that something was wrong. Do you think, after all these examples, I could be ignorant of his death?
Kate, you're overwrought. You must take a sedative and go to bed.
Mr. Holmes, is there any hope?
Yes. Yes, perhaps Neville is alive. Good night.
Oh, I say, Holmes, how could you say such a thing? Raising the poor girl's hopes.
Watson, I ought to be kicked from here to Baker Street. I hold the key to the mystery.
The key? Where?
In the bathroom.
Bathroom?
Yes, look for it before you go to bed. Good night. Inspector, any developments?
No, none. The River Police report that no body answering the description of Sinclair has been found for the last 48 hours. Oh, our doctor examined that beggar fellow and found his story true. So as we had no case against him, we've let him go.
What? You're one material witness and you've let him go?
And why not? He has a street vendor's license for selling matches. He's committed no crime.
You're sure his license is up to date?
Oh, that hadn't occurred to me.
No, it wouldn't.
I knew it, Mr. Holmes, I knew it. I've had a letter this morning. Neville is alive.
May I see it? Your correspondent, Mrs. Sinclair, is feminine. Her occupation, I suspect, connected with the more fashionable dress houses in Bond Street.
But how on earth?
The envelope originates from Astley's of Bond Street. The watermark is quite discernible. The sloping characteristics of the writing, despite the efforts of disguise, clearly indicate the sex, whilst few men liberally perfume themselves with Marcy's Quelquefleur. You will also observe that the back of the letters indicate that they've been cut out of a woman's fashion magazine.
Well, that's most extraordinary, Mr. Holmes.
On the contrary, my dear fellow, it is precisely what I expected. By the way, Inspector, what is the penalty for burglary?
Why, imprisonment, of course.
Really? Good day, Inspector.